The following is a conversation between me and my brother about reincarnation and ties between deja vu and birthmarks, the story of Dorothy Eady, Hieraclon, pyramids, and other ancient sites, as well as the reawakening of corporate life balance and structure of things. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Check, check. What up, world?
What's happening?
You got JBreezy here
And Ravi, still thinking of a creative nickname to get running with. Y'all have any suggestions? Let me know.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. So we was gonna start it off. We went on a little deep dive on the stories of reincarnated lives. Pretty fascinating stuff. I know this kind of intrigues everybody in some form or fashion, because I saw even a good percentage of Christians actually believe in reincarnation now too, apparently, is what I was reading earlier too. So it's not just broken down by religions, but yeah, there's some fascinating shit.
Yeah, I've never really gave it a whole lot of thought, but then I started watching a couple videos on it and doing some research on it, and there are some fascinating stories of children that recall precise details of their prior lives from when they're like 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And you know how most parents might just write off what they're saying as, oh, you're just saying something, just go back to bed, you'll be fine or whatever. But so there were some parents out there that actually listened, and there's some interesting stories out there. I was just reading one about a kid named Ryan. Afterwards they would go speak to a therapist, and their parents would talk to it and try and get to the bottom of it. So he basically woke up and he was like, kept wanting to say he wanted to go back to his prior life that was a better life, and he was like well known and famous or whatever, and he kept crying through the night, and his mom just thought it was a phase, but she decided to look into it a little bit more. So she went to the library, picked up some books of Hollywood, because he was mentioning Hollywood and stuff, and just brought some books home and just started going through some of the pages, and then he actually spotted who he said he was in his prior life. I think his name was Martin or something like that, which she was just blown away by. But they did a little bit more research and reached out to that actor's name who had already passed, his daughter, and then I think they went and met with her. And when they actually went to Hollywood, he recanted specific parts of the city. It was saying, oh, this building used to be here, or XYZ. And then when they actually spoke with the daughter, he pointed out exact details about her dad, who he's reincarnated from, about his life and details and stuff, and that she was just that's insane. How do you know that? So it was just.
How old was this kid?
I think he was three or four, but then after that age, they stopped remembering those things. So it's just kind of interesting that's the time period of.
That's fascinating, because that's a lot of the age where you see a lot of these stories that I was reading today. Those kids are all around that age group, or in a really advanced child. There was one that was speaking sentences before he was 2 years old or something, good full sentences, using words like portal, because he said that when they asked where he had come from, because he kept mentioning something referencing that he was someone else. And
he said it just went whoosh and I came to a portal, which I guess would be the hospital room when you were birthed again. So it's fascinating. There's a lot of stories like that, and there was even one of a lady in India too. It got the attention of Gandhi, and she had actually recollected all the details of her prior life, her husband, her children, they owned businesses, and it was a biscuit and soda shop factory and all that. And after enough persistence, they finally let her go explore that theory, and they definitely went to that family's house, and she actually knew secrets about that family that only the secrets knew. And they were yeah, this is this is definitely it. It's kind of wild, and it's got to be kind of hard to carry on. Your whole idea of life, you're is shattered already. It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah. So, it's fascinating. You going into these other dimensions after life or whatever's occurring, and then you just get pushed back into a certain body at a certain time frame. A lot of them happen after one has passed away, and then it's a few years later, then this child is birthed or something, and then, or sometimes it's a little further along, but the ties are amazing. The things that they're able to recollect right off gate, like soon as they're able to give it to you and communicate it to you.
Yeah, I wonder.
Is it from child to an adult?
I wonder, like, how many thousands of cases there are like that a kid is just saying something at home and the parents pay it no mind.
Yeah, right? Tons of those where they're just like brushing right over it.
So now I'm gonna be like listening attentively to these younger kids. If they just say something out of normal, like, where did you learn that from? You know. So
that's like, the monster's coming. You're like, what? There was a monster chasing you in your last life? That means that some fucking big bear was coming at you. Yeah. Start looking into everything.
Yeah, it could have been a big bear, like some sort of like invading force or something like that.
He's probably like, no, I just seen it on a cartoon. I'm just saying it's a fucking monster.
Dang, you got me jumping down this rabbit hole for hours for no reason. Ain't listening to nothing you say again.
Fucking kid.
Just took a whole day off of work for that.
That one case was fascinating, though. We were both looking at it, saw a video of Dorothy Eady. She was born in 1904 in England, and she insisted that she was, like, her land was Egypt, that she was from Egypt, and then she ended up proving that she had actually lived in ancient Egypt. There was one thing that she knew, gardens that existed there when she got I think she got there when they finally went there.
Yeah, she ended up going there.
Yeah, and then they were like, she was like upset. She was like, the gardens aren't here, and like they used to be right here and here. And come to find out, years later, they excavate that same area, and that's where the gardens were.
Yeah, and I remember when she first stepped foot into Egypt, she was like kissed the ground and was like, "I'm home." So there was like something
I'm never leaving
in her body
anymore.
Was like telling her that's where she needed to be. And even the historians there, Egyptologists, when they were like studying her and stuff, they were like, even her dialect was amazingly on point of that time era, or that that she was.
Her understanding of hieroglyphs and the language, and they asked her, well, was she trying to learn this language? And she said, no, she's just trying to remember it from when she did know it. It brings up a lot of interesting points. She went on to like marry an Egyptian and lived in Egypt, I think,
the rest of her life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. Like, you already knew you were calling, like, as soon as you were like as soon as you were born, basically. Like, I want to go find out more about these origins or continue, touching that life in some shape or way or fashion.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, we think it's crazy, but whenever we get these little signals or signs or instincts that tell us a certain thing or two, it's like, we may even visit a certain place or a country and say, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This feels more right. But the comfortable nature of it in us like goes back to where we were, but something just feels way more right. Like,
what if that's somehow attached to like deja vu? Like, as you get older and you actually remember something, like, oh, I've been here before, I recognize this. What if that's a symptom of your past life coming forward just in that very moment, and then it just disappears again? Like, because we still don't understand what deja vu is completely, and it could be tied to that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. There could be reasons that we, in our lives, trying to fit and mold into society, get like angered or tempered, and we're doing things that we're not supposed to be doing. But when we go to these other places and you're there, it's like, I get a little feeling of that, like almost like when we were in Santorini. Like, I don't know, none of our ancestors probably really lived in Egypt besides our dad that lived there for a little while, like way before or anything. So it's not like, I don't know if in any of my, or some reincarnated life or anything that was near there or near the coast or something, but it automatically pulled you from the natural things of life that make us upset when we're not supposed to be feeling like that anyway. You're supposed to be feeling like you do naturally, like, when you're there and just doing simple things. Yeah,
like ancient civilizations all lived along the coast, right? That was their source of life. And now here we've migrated, and over thousands of years have turned into these like little like robotic like drones in these like tiny little neighborhoods. Everything looks the same, your routine is the same, you're out of touch with nature. And I think that's why, like, as people get older, they're like, I just want to leave the suburbs, or I want to leave the city and get closer to nature and just be out on my own, because there's something more natural about it. That's how like humans are designed to be, instead of like cooped up in these little boxes all day every day.
The old director at my old school, she quit and ended up moving to the beach where she said like her heart is or whatever, but now it's just happier than ever. And she wasn't living a very happy lifestyle then. She was always like just pent up aggression and shit because you got so much on your back of having to do this and that. So I mean, even if you have those responsibilities and you live in a place like that, I think it takes some like anxieties of it off and things, because there's something innate in us. Why do we feel good when you go right to the coast and you go by the beach and you just it feels good, or go to the mountains, whatever one prefers. Like each person's probably gonna have a different spot that makes them feel more comfortable, but somewhere embedded in nature is like the history of human beings and species inside of us that just lives on, and we got to connect with it and understand that a little more.
No, I agree. And before,
it's like frequencies and stuff too, obviously vibrations and stuff.
I feel like we're tied to those past lives in some way, shape, or form. Even like when we're talking about birthmarks, you know, what are the purposes of those? And there were some of these stories we're reading about reincarnation where that could be a past scar from another life, right? Like one guy, they were doing a study on a guy who was recalling his past life and how he died and whatnot, and there was a birthmark on the back of his skull and then one on the front of his skull that kind of resembled a bullet going through it, right? So like it's you know, these birthmarks, they come in different shapes and sizes on random parts of your body, so that could just be some sort of attachment to your prior life, or some injury happened or something that significant happened in that area of your body. Would be pretty interesting that I don't think enough people dive into either.
That's that story of that child in Syria I was telling you about. It was like only a couple years ago old, that kept telling his parents, I forgot how this thing arose, but he kept insisting on them that like he had been here or this and that, to go visit somewhere that was like, it wasn't that far, but it was like pretty far. They weren't really going to listen to the child at that time, but this thing like ended up going all the way up to court somehow. But this kid led everyone to the body of someone that died before he was born, and they were hit in the head like at a certain spot with either a hammer or axe or some kind of blunt object or something. I don't remember what it was. I read this a while ago, and this child had a birthmark in that exact spot. And apparently the guy who they got for it, when he was in court, like he was apparently just like it was going to be fine, like there was going to be nobody was going to find the body or anything. And they said that when they discovered it, or the child, they said it in court or whatever it was, that when they found it, that he turned white as a ghost, like that he knew that child was the dude that he had killed prior before. It's like seeing the same person in two different forms in like the same life. I'm still
here, and I know what you did. And
that was it. And I think that guy he's locked up or dead probably by now. But
so I think going forward it'd be important to listen like to these kids if they say something about their prior life, or if they recall an injury of some sort, and then see if they have a birthmark in that spot. I think that would be pretty interesting to see if there's a correlation there.
Investigate the birthmarks, and then I guess it doesn't always have to relate back to someone in your family or anything like that. It could be someone that's totally unrelated. So just searching out stories. You're going to find all types of stories of people that got hit in the same spot and think it's you. I know. Possibly, though. So it leads down a weird rabbit hole.
I got a birthmark on my lip. I guess I got uppercutted into another life. So, I don't know what that could be from, but it sounds like it probably wasn't a pleasant way to go.
You fought Mike Tyson in a previous life.
He murked me out before he got famous.
Damn, that's crazy. No, there's some crazy, fascinating stories out there to just keep going down the rabbit hole on. Like, I felt like when we started looking at these, I could have just kept looking at
for hours. There's just so many little mysteries out there that correlate to that, and just how many of these people were looked over because someone didn't want to listen to them. So I think like it's important to do that, and then you can start finding out these little fun facts about life and stuff, and just look at stuff in a different light instead of just the same daily grind and stresses. I think these topics are far more entertaining and fascinating.
There's more to this shit, man. Way more to this shit than just grinding to make money and do whatever. We got to find out these unexplainable mysteries of the universe and life that we just never been able to pinpoint or put our finger on. That's the most interesting ones to really go down, because really there's no true definite answer. You can find out certain things like what happened between the new story that came out that said apparently only, what was it, 70 people or 40 people that
discovered
North America. Yeah. And so we're all like we're all just descendants of those people, and how did those people get here? And
unless those people were ultimately killed and another invading force killed them and settled here, so it's kind of hard to like pinpoint that. But
and you can keep going back in history, even like as Graham Hancock said, like from the Australian blood that was found in the people of the ancient Amazonian, they were discovering stuff from up to 120,000 years ago, and it was just showing that people had made this move somehow, or at some point in time Australians through there came down, and whether it was through the Bering Strait during the Ice Age and came down all the way down North America through Central America to South America, or they had some sort of vehicle that could go over water, some boat of some kind, even at a time frame like that.
See, and that shows you the differences in lifestyle. Back then, to them, just discovering new territories and new lands and new parts of the earth was the most fascinating thing in life. It wasn't going out there, getting a job and paying your bills.
You didn't have to do that. It was just you have to live.
Yeah, it's like exploring the ends of the earth. Isn't that sound like a way more like exhilarating life? I know it was a lot more painful. They didn't have modern amenities, but you got to escape climate change. But it was for the
bare necessities. But there is a connection between like going backwards to be more happy.
Yeah, well, I think that and them, them traveling to new lands and being like, yo, I'm a part of history. I've discovered something new. I think that's why we also get that a little adrenaline rush whenever we go travel to a new country or a new island or whatever. It's just like you naturally feel better. You feel like
this is new land I have not seen.
Yeah,
wow,
what you're supposed to do as a human on Earth is like explore what all Earth has to offer, and it just drives me nuts when I like talk to people who have like never left their state. I'm like, oh my god, you're on this planet once, and you don't have the natural curiosity to go explore somewhere. That's like mind blowing to me. That's like sitting in a box your whole life and never you're sitting in your own natural prison.
Yeah,
right?
True. Yeah. It's like that Mark Twain quote of the only way to become prejudice and no bigotry, and this
it eliminates
that
travel
cannot
eliminates
happen without you residing in one crevice of the earth all one's lifetime or something.
I know I've always told people traveling eliminates bigotry, prejudices, all that, because once you actually go to all these different countries and step out of your comfort zone, you realize there are people there just like you and I, just trying to get by, just trying to live life, no matter what the media and everything else tells you. There's beautiful places all over the world, no matter what the country is. So
even the sketchy places we've been are still awesome. Like some of like little sketchy incidents, like Budapest, Hungary, dude coming to the door, like
in the middle
homeless
of the
people
night.
looking for somewhere to stay in the middle of the night. Damn, just all like it's but living life like seeing all these things. That's why even I think everybody gets a little bit of a feeling when they start even driving into just a new territory, like even if it's a little bit outside of their own city and they haven't been there. You start feeling like, oh, I haven't seen that. Oh, look at that. That's pretty fucking cool.
When you repeat the same experiences in life, it gets mundane and boring. And then when you finally get to a new area, you're like, you feel alive again, right? Instead of repeating the same task over and over.
It drives me so fucking crazy. I can't even like take the same route home from work or whatever like that. Like I have to try to mix it up. Somewhere in between, because I'm like, this starts to feel like a fucking video game where I'm playing the same thing. Like even in a video game, I'll go a different route. Like I can't be doing this shit. Like I'm inside of the computer on the motherboard, just going in that straight direction, memory to processing, wherever I have to go. Like
life has way too much to offer than sitting in one area. That's for sure.
That's for certain. So hopefully. I think this last year and a half, for a couple years or whatever, during the pandemic, though, has gotten people to explore new avenues and areas and shit to try to figure out, like, I need to do something on my own, have my own brand, have my own name out here. Shit, part of the reason we're recording right now, just getting the thoughts out there. It feels good, therapeutic, and also just keep building on this thing, because ultimately, I ain't trying to work for the man my whole life, and I don't think you are either, and so...
I think the whole pandemic's shaken up the whole way people have viewed life and how we've done things, and they realize like, hey, well, working from home actually creates a way better work-life balance. We just didn't realize how bad we actually had it, just between this like getting up, getting ready for work, and then that takes time, and you got to like pack some food, and then you got to travel to work, and then you got to wear this certain clothes, and then you got to commute back home, and then next thing you know, you have like only an hour of free time before you got to go to sleep and do it all over again. It's not natural. It's not even right.
It takes a longer breaking of the pattern to sometimes realize it. Like you'll realize it even when you go to a different country. When you go to a European country, you're like, oh, they have more time off. They're enjoying life out here. Oh, okay. And then we come back and we start getting in that work grind or mode again. But when you go a year and a half and you've balanced things out a little more now, it's like
because we're fed propaganda that if you have time off, that makes you lazy, and that's what the people that want you to be a grunt and a peasant the rest of your life want you to think.
It's crazy because most people are walking around like half tired, not even them full selves, because of what like grinding so hard is doing to them, like working a little too much. I forgot what point was I going to make with that. Like just working a little too much. It's almost like you get so used to feeling like that's your new norm. Almost like how an alcoholic that drinks every night when they wake up, that's how everybody wakes up and feels every morning. Like, no, some people feel great when they wake up in the morning, but you don't realize that because that's just how you live.
You fall into groupthink since millions of other people are living that same lifestyle. You think it's the right thing until it gets shaken up and you're like, wait, we've been torturing ourselves like this for this long. There's no reason to have to.
Like, you mean I can live like this?
Yeah, there's no reason to sit at the office from 8 to 5 because studies have only shown that human workers only produce like 5 to 6 hard hours of actual work a day, and they just burn the other 2 hours of the day bullshitting around the rest of the day. So why do we still have the same structure that's been in place for the last like 100 years? It doesn't make any sense. You just let us have our free time, and that will prove to be better for everyone else's mental health. It's just blows my mind when there's all these like shills out there like, no man, you need to, well, you only work 40 hours a week. Well, I work 60 or 70. Well, good for you. You want a cookie? Like, just because you work that much doesn't mean anybody else needs to. That just sucks that you don't.
It doesn't mean that other people haven't worked hard as shit in their life and put in hours like that before too. Like some people get, we don't want to do this forever just because you keep doing it. That's the whole crabs in a bucket and they're pulling each other down instead of letting one out kind of mentality. It's like it's the middle class and the poor.
Yes, they pivot the middle versus the poor class, and then it's just kind of crazy. Like, how when people like argue about, oh, well, they get $15 an hour to flip burgers and I only make like $17 an hour. Well, why don't you point the finger up north? Because that's where all the money's being held.
And we ain't talking about Canada.
We're talking about your CEOs that are making millions, making your entire salary in a couple minutes. Like,
when they're making like 4,000% more than you or whatever. You're like, hold on, this ratio isn't correct.
You guys are being robbed by someone else, and you've been told to point the finger at someone who's less fortunate than you. How did you fall into that trap of thinking, right?
It's a lot of psychological warfare is stupid powerful. Like, it's ridiculous. I think Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, showed that even with the book he wrote called Propaganda in the early 1900s, and then he assisted the United States government with this type of groupthink mentality and then implementing it amongst the people. So
a lot of this stuff was done by design at people at the highest levels, is to get you to think like this, and that's how they get maximum production out of society. You're basically just their servants, keeping the machine going. But it just comes in a different form than whether you're building a pyramid or like you're doing hard physical labor in camps or building something. You're just doing it in an office setting now or in a retail store or what have you.
But this is why people don't feel the way you would feel as if you were building a pyramid or you were doing something. You're not getting that sense of accomplishment when you finish your task when you're working for some corporate job and you're like a corporate slave and you're like, I got the projects done and finished, here you go. It doesn't even give you that feeling that, say, like you don't see drawing a picture would that you worked on for a long time and you're like, fuck yeah, this is a good picture. You don't even see a
tangible object being completed. You're just like,
it's like something that you're not even if you're passionate about it, then that's good. Like, I'm glad for you people out there that are passionate about what you do every day, and like you're like, hell yeah, I got this project done, I learned something new, that was cool. Even when I jumped in a new field and I was like, oh, this is my new passion, this is where it is, you end up finding out like you're actually more passionate maybe in certain other areas. That can happen, and I think that's not to say I'm not passionate in the cybersecurity area or anything, but damn, I am. But there's some aspects and areas of it that pique my interest a little more. Like right now we're gonna say crypto, it can mold into that. Like crypto and cybersecurity will merge together, and be something, but that area of things is where I'd like to put my time right now.
I agree. And I think that's why we're seeing record numbers of people just quitting their jobs when their corporations are telling them to come back to the office, because they're like, no, this is, I was already underpaid, and now you want me to go basically spend more money to go back to work. Because there's studies that showed the people that got to work from home saved an average of $5,000 over the pandemic. That's a significant amount of money to these families, and now they got to go basically pay money to go back to work. It's just kind of backwards, and I think people are starting to realize the flaws in the system. Like, if my job can be done from home, why do I even need to come to the office? Like, I get it. If you're young, you got some social aspect tied to it, but no, I mean, I don't need that, because I know I can use my time more fruitfully at home. So I would much rather be at home. And I just
having the option for flexibility, I think, is the most important thing. It seems like,
exactly,
because then I can go in. You can go in, talk to people, have your little social time, and then break off, and then actually get your work done at home. Most people probably have a good home office setup and whatnot by now anyway. So but I guess this only applies to people working in the corporate space. Everybody else is like, well, shit, damn, that sounds like it sucks.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, for retail workers, that's got to suck too. You got to work, true. The hours that people don't want to work and things like that. So unfortunately, our system's designed to exploit
and
people
they can't
in certain
work
areas.
from home because they're people facing.
Yeah.
But that makes part of people's day, because working in retail before, I'll say that does bring some light to the day when you start having some interesting conversations with random people that you didn't even expect. Like,
that's true.
I talked to some random person today about the Egyptian pyramids and fucking the space-time continuum or some fucking shit. Like, just some weird stuff. I don't know. Obviously, it can be a regular conversation too. You can just talk about fucking sports or whatever, but it's just that does help, because the camaraderie aspect is important too.
Yeah, that's good for mental health as well.
So if you don't have like a community near you from your home living space or home work space or whatever, then probably is important to get it into the office maybe a day or two, or go work somewhere else, like one of those buildings that like just has people there, like just a coffee shop or something.
Find a community that has your same interest, or a meetup group or something. So you can meet people that way.
If you're into jiu-jitsu, go down. Pull out your laptop in the gym at the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you don't have to tie your whole identity to work. Like, you can find people outside of that, So I think it's a little bit healthier to diversify like that as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so.
What else is cracking? It's a beautiful Saturday.
Yeah.
Hot as hell outside. We got UFC fights tonight. Nothing really big.
Yeah. We were talking about that when you were talking about the pyramids, that Teotihuacan complex in Mexico. Remember?
Teotihuacan or something like
that.
It's
difficult to pronounce, but it's got a complex, precise design, but they still don't know who constructed it. There's no language inscriptions. It's basically a complete mystery.
It's interesting because there's like a huge pyramid, and then there's like an assortment of maybe 6 to 8 pyramids or something like that. Yeah. Prior to this, and all in like a kind of like a circular,
and there's like
and then a long road.
Yeah, the road is precisely 2 miles straight. It's only been like 10% undiscovered, and it had a full irrigation system. It's got all these different symbols and designs of different statue, dragon looking heads, but there's nothing beyond that. But it's
I'd be curious to know where that really gets dated back to, and then. You've got interesting. I mean, that probably touches on time periods of the Mayans, Aztecs, maybe even as old as the Olmecs down there. Yeah. And that's the people that did have more of the African-like features. You've seen the stone carvings probably, but I don't know if you remember them. They show bigger lips and things like this show that they're actually, this is where the descendants probably emerged from Africa.
Yeah, they had distinct familiar features of people that originated from Central Africa or West Africa, and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it is a cradle of civilization, so I'm sure a lot of inspiration came from there.
No doubt. Yeah, that's one thing that everybody's got to just realize at this point in time. I don't know exactly what your Bible says about people getting here from certain lands, but when you look at the science and all the new data coming out, not even new data, older ancient data and new data, ancient data really. it all points mostly back to Africa. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's much disputing of that. There is a little bit, I think, in America before. Graham Hancock does mention some civilizations that could have possibly even been here in North America.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand all the division between people, because we all basically came from the same source, and everyone fights over, pigmentation of skin. It's just kind of Neanderthalish and primitive in a sense. And it led me to this thought that, how there's these uncontacted tribes in like Brazil or all off the coast of India. What if we are also in a way so primitive that other galaxies and civilizations outside of the United States are like, hey, we're going to leave them untouched because they're so primitive in their thinking that it will be dangerous to even engage contact with them. What if we are that uncontacted tribe to other civilizations?
They could have been doing that for thousands of years until that damn moment Oppenheimer created that bomb.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you see a massive rise in UFO sightings.
Yeah. Then they're like, okay, now we gotta fucking.
Because then you'd have to. It'd be the equivalent of us finding out one of these uncontacted tribes in the Amazon somehow constructed a nuclear weapon, and now we got to go into their tribe and drop democracy on them.
Yeah. The only thing there is what would be in those ancient wall art drawings and cave art of when they're pointing up at objects that do look like UFOs, especially in the old Hindu picture of, like, I think it was Krishna shooting a bow at an object that looked like a UFO.
That was disc-shaped. Yeah,
disc-shaped object.
I mean, it's in depictions of all types of ancient civilizations, and just the way they have had built some of their ancient cities. It's just like, how did you do this without modern technology or assistance?
Because they probably got that far again.
Yeah,
like
they got that far, and then the other civilizations were just like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they got that far. Aliens dropped through again, and then they're like, hold on, we gotta. And there's an ancient picture of them almost what seems like going to war with the aliens or something. Yeah. And then what if, did it all just start over again? And then you got like Hieraclon that was discovered underwater off the coast of India.
Yeah. There's several cities that are submerged in water that, have the hallmarks of that. Like, so many civilizations rose to great prominence and then basically fell off too. So it's just kind of, crazy how that happened. It seems like the cycle repeats itself, and it seems like we're coming to a head again with how much is happening in today's society, really.
Mm-hmm. Mom just called me and I accidentally answered it the last minute we were talking.
She was about to be on the podcast.
Said, what are you talking about? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an endless hole of just interest, and you just want to keep finding out the answers. And really, I don't know if we ever will truly find anything out. That's probably what makes it so fascinating in itself. But it feels like sometimes you do get a little closer to something that makes sense. It's like you put a piece of the puzzle in there, and you're like, this fits. This piece fits. Okay.
Well, whenever we keep making correlations like that, we'll keep bringing it to the viewership, just like how we just made that analogy with, birthmarks and reincarnation. Maybe we might be able to tie something in the future that can be like, hey, it might a light bulb might go off. That might be a light bulb moment.
Yeah, because all this does tie in some weird ways. This is the mysteries of the universe, like I said before, and that whole reincarnation fact of going out of this world and coming out as a human being and then coming back in as a different human being and still recollecting facts of the old one. I mean, that's next level, just like this other species visiting in ancient times and now and all these other things.
I wonder what the criteria for like reincarnation is and what your new world would be like compared to your past. Do they want you to have a completely different existence than your prior one, like the guy that was a Hollywood actor and then he came into a second life where he was just in like a poor rural town? Like, what if it's designed to give you perspective through multiple lifetimes?
And then why didn't there was that one story of somebody that said his brother or sister didn't make it because they asked what happened to your brother or sister, like I guess in the past life, and said he got turned into a fish. And they found out that person had died in the waters.
They found the body in the water. So that was his way of like communicating it, I think, and that's why it was kind of wild that he was even able to paint it that way, even though it's hard for a kid to communicate. Even the grandfather was like, wow, he was like blown away because he's like, dang.
It's almost like did that person got reincarnated? That person's body that was found also was reincarnated, but this person said that he did get reincarnated, and this person got reincarnated into a fish, or is with the fishes now, or is a
with
fish?
the fish, or something
with
like
the
that.
fish. So he might just be recollecting the last life and not know if this person's reincarnated new life now. If that would be the case.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I mean, they could all tie in together. The deja vu, reincarnation, living a totally different life. You know, it could all come full circle in a way grander scheme than we can even comprehend over multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, certainly can. That's amazing. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep going down the rabbit hole and bring some more next time.
Yeah. I think we had
more info.
Had a nice little discussion, and next time we come up with some new theories or new information, we'll definitely bring it to you guys. I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, we're gonna cut this one shorter than the last time, but gonna try to upload up quicker next time. But so till next time, peace out, world.
Y'all enjoy it. Take care.
Peace.